Okay, so on to the last question for this week's In Bed with the Seduction Expert. Can you be friends with an ex? Can you be friends with an ex? I actually posed that question to you guys. I would love to hear if you have been able to be friends with an ex successfully and how that worked out for you. Because I have been friends with exes before, and I have definitely been mortal enemies with exes before. So I guess the easiest answer to that question is it depends. It depends on the ex, it depends on the nature of your relationship, and it depends on the nature of your relationship moving forward. I think that, my personal belief is that, everyone that comes into our life comes into our lives for a reason. And if I haven't already shared this, I think this is one of the most important concepts ever when it comes to understanding how and why things and people happen to us and for us, and to us, is that there are special relationships and there are holy relationships. And the differentiation between the two is that a special relationship is when someone comes into your life to teach you a lesson or to learn a lesson from you, or for the two of you to just create a scenario that radically transforms each other's lives. Like, it's just, you teach each other a very valuable lesson. And then once a lesson is learned, you part ways. And it could be bad or good, right? Like, there are those people that, you've met in a social situation or out traveling, and you just had this amazing soul experience with another human being, but then you never talk to them again. But you just had this incredible moment in reality together. And then, of course, there's those people, generally, exes, who have come into our lives and it didn't work out and we got our asses handed to us, and very valuable lessons to be learned there, right? And then once it's over, it's completely over. Versus a holy relationship is when two people come together, someone comes into your life, you come into their life, and you're always learning from each other. Teaching lessons, but also learning from each other. And it's like a growing thing, versus the first one's like a bolt of lightning. It's bam, in there, out, done, destroyed, life, creation, whatever. The second one is more like, a plant, a growing thing that is just always getting nurtured, sometimes goes through hard things, but, there's just always something there's just like a really nice mutual exchange of creation between you two. So I feel like exes really fall into one of two camps, right? Where it's either a special relationship where they came into your life, valuable lessons learned, hopefully learned, so that moving forward, you don't keep dating the same person with a different face, right? Or you meet someone who, maybe it doesn't work out love and romance-wise, but they've just become such an impactful and powerful part of your life that you don't ever want to be without them. So I really encourage you in your relationships to step back and ask yourself, is this a special relationship? Is this a holy relationship? And I feel like holy relationships, no, that's not true. Because sometimes special relationships, it's not just one lesson you learn from someone. Sometimes it goes on for longer periods of time, but it's something that has an expiration date. I guess that's maybe what I should have said. Not a lesson. There is an expiration date on your learning experience, versus holy relationships are eternal. I guess that's why it's called holy. So if you can be friends with an ex, other things you have to take into consideration is, if you were sexually active, if you were intimate, affectionate, will you be able to be casual around them? Because it's very hard to be around an ex and not want to recreate that sense of closeness and specialness. But, if your ex is, that's no longer a privilege that you two get to indulge in, unless you want to break your own heart, which I don't recommend. Ask yourself if you would be okay when they move on. Not if they move on, when they move on. So if they started dating someone new, are you going to be happy for them? Are you going to get to know the new guy, or are you going to have feelings of jealousy or stress? And then also something to take into consideration too is that their new person may not be comfortable with exes being friends. So are you going to be able to deal with that if there is a line drawn? And then, of course, last question, should you be friends with an ex? Like I said, if you are clear If it's a special relationship, no. You learn your lesson, move on. Don't torture yourself. And, listen to the previous 2 topics on how to move on from that powerfully. But if it's a holy relationship, then, there's an extra level of gratitude to be had around it. And you should always have gratitude for every person that ever comes into your life. If you want to live a healthy, happy, satisfying, seductive, truly seductive life, gratitude is the foundation of a good attitude, right? Attitude of gratitude. We've all heard that saying before. So, even when it feels like life is just shitting on you, because I've been there. I've absolutely had horrible breakups where I laid in the bottom of my bathtub crying my eyes out, drinking a box of wine. Maybe that's a little dramatic, or maybe it isn't. But I do know how that feels. And the truth is, yeah, sometimes you're just going to have to sit in the pain and just feel the grief and, let it all go. And, yes, it's going to hurt because you're going to feel rejected. And also you're going to beat yourself up because you're wondering, what did I do? What could I have done differently? What's wrong with me? I mean, those are it's natural questions that we ask ourselves. But how to step out of that ultimately is just, grieve, feel the pain, get it out, do what you got to do. And then once it's out, step back, think about what there is to be grateful for, the things that you appreciated about that person. Yes, and sometimes we're going to blame ourselves for the breakup, but at the end of the day, forgive yourself and forgive the other person, because all holding on to anger and resentment and frustration does is it hurts you, right? I think it was Buddha that said having anger and hatred towards another person is like drinking poison and expecting them to die. So, when it comes to getting over an ex, when it comes to getting over heartbreak, when it comes to dealing with rejection, just, understand that it happens. Don't make yourself wrong for it. Don't let it make you bitter or cynical. I know in my single days, I would go out on dates with guys that just you could hear they were still so hurt and so bitter and so angry about their previous relationship or their previous relationships that it was almost like trying to sit across from a cactus with really long needles. It was painful. And, especially as a dating coach, feeling that from a guy, and then they're even more frustrated because they're single and they don't know why. Well, it's like when you're holding on to that anger and resentment, it makes you very unattractive, super unseductive. So pay attention to attitude and just also, have that sense of peace and have a sense of curiosity. I think that's another great way to get over your ex is just go out there and be curious about people. Because I think what sometimes we do, and I'm sure I'm guilty of it, we're all guilty of it, is that we project what happened with our previous relationships onto someone new. And so sometimes we make someone guilty before they've even given us a reason to be suspicious or give them any reason to be guilty. So, go into meeting a new person with an open mind. Be curious. Don't assume that all women are the same. Don't assume that all redheads are the same or blondes are the same or whatever. Just enjoy the process, And if you're out there dating again, right, if you just got over an ex and you're just ready to get back in the game, I do highly recommend that you check out my new course, the Seduction Skill Set, which you can get over on my site, seductionexpert.com. And if you want some free training, you guys go ahead and sign up. I have an amazing masterclass all about body language, which is a must-have, especially if you are going out on first dates, if you're meeting people in the wild, if you really want to understand what women are thinking and feeling, especially when it comes to whether or not they desire you and are attracted to you. That is going to be a fantastic course for you guys to check out. And that's about it for this week's episode of In Bed with the Seduction Expert. Thank you so much for watching this stuff. This, I hope you find this information life-changing. I know that, when it comes to affairs of the heart, it can be difficult sometimes to talk about these things. So I really appreciate that you guys see me as your safe space to come and ask the questions. And if you are watching this on IGTV, you can use the book button in my bio to schedule a 15-minute conversation with me. So if you have questions about any of the things that we covered or anything else dating or relationship related, go ahead and book that time with me. And again, if you're watching this on IGTV, you can also send me a private message if you want me to answer something for you on next week's episode. You guys are amazing. Thank you so much. It's been a pleasure having you in my bed. And until next time.